go back to the.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us today. My name is Jasper with Square Maine. I'm joined by Beth Bordowitz, here to present on Maine's retirement program, a unique new offering that is going to affect a lot of businesses here in the state. And Beth is an expert on the topic. We want to thank you for joining us today. And if you aren't familiar with us here at SCORE, we're a resource partner of the SBA, and we help clients from all stages of the business cycle from pre-start to exit. I do want to thank today's sponsor, and that is the Maine Technology Institute. One of our groups we love working with. We really appreciate them, and we appreciate you putting on today's presentation, Beth. If anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and we can address them as they arise or near the end when we have a Q&A section. Otherwise, why don't you take it away?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jasper. Thank you for having us, I say us, the Maine Retirement Savings Board this afternoon to tell you a little bit about our program. So we've been around for we started in January 2024. And so my goal this afternoon is to talk just a teeny bit about Maine's retirement landscape, but that's to answer the question, like, why did the legislature do this? Then I'll talk about what this is, what is merit, what does it mean for you as employers, what does it mean for your employees. I'll walk through our implementation schedule. As I mentioned, we started in January 2024, so we are just halfway through our second year. I'll get to some frequently asked questions, and I'll get to your questions. And again, I'll reiterate, if you have questions along the way, Jasper's monitoring them, so feel free to put them into the chat, and then I'll either take them, if he throws it at me, I can't really see them the way this is set up, but if he throws it at me, I'll be happy to answer as we go, and if otherwise, I'll answer at the end. Also, we're a pretty small group, so if you want to raise your hand and ask a question that way, I'm also fine with that. So whatever works for you, we want to make sure you get your questions answered about this program because it will affect so many Maine businesses.
Yeah, there is a raise hand function down in the React button at the bottom of your screen, everyone who's here. So feel free to utilize that if you want to come off of mute.
Yeah, perfect. So just a little bit about what we call Maine's retirement landscape. Maine has about 507,000 private sector employees statewide, and of those, about 60, I'm really having trouble today. 66% offer workplace retirement plans. So we've got a 34% gap. So what the gap refers to is people who are working in a workplace where there is no workplace retirement plan. And that's important because people who have access to a workplace retirement plan are 20% more likely to save for their future. And the state of Maine cares about that because if there is a gap and people are relying entirely on Social Security or inadequate resources, then there's more reliance on the state of Maine to fill that gap. So that's what motivated the state to create merit. So as I mentioned, we've been around for about a year and a half. We started mid-January 2024. And at this point, when we prepared this presentation a week ago, over close to $18 million had been saved by Maine employees. That number is actually about 18.5 million as of yesterday. So this money is being put into these accounts, often $50 to $60 at a time, but we have about 16,000 Mainers who have started saving for their retirement, and it's being embraced pretty enthusiastically. At this point, again, not very far into it, the average account is just over $1,000. So people are starting to put money away for their future. Just to let you know that Maine is not alone in offering this program. We're about the 7th or 8th state to start the program. But as you can see by that list on the left side, there are now a lot of active programs and more coming. Actually, New York just started a couple of weeks ago, so their program is currently active. Minnesota is going to be ready by January 2026. Hawaii expects to launch in 2026 as well. Rhode Island is also ready to launch. So there are at this point a lot of states that are offering similar programs. So these are becoming more known throughout the country, which is also important for you as small business owners because it means that your providers, your accountants, and your payroll providers are also becoming more familiar with these programs and know how they operate. So they're just in a better position to assist you. And so what does merit mean for an employer and what does it mean for an employee? So employers who do not offer a retirement plan, who have 5 or more employees in Maine, so that's any W-2 employee that has Maine income, so they're taking withholding from their income for Maine or subject to Maine unemployment, and they've been in business for 2 years. So I went into a lot of detail on the employees because it could be that you've got 2 employees in Maine, but also, 3 employees in any other state. And then you would not have 5 or more Maine employees and you would not be required to participate in merit. But if you do meet those requirements, then you are actually required to participate in merit. It's not a choice. You do need to register with merit. So again, those employees have to be employed in Maine. They need to be 18 years or older, and they also need to have a social security number or other federal identification number. So those are the employees that you need to register with merit. So if you're running a business and you're hiring some 16 or 17-year-olds, they also don't count as your 5 employees and they don't need to be registered with merit. If you have any of these types of qualified plans, then you are exempt from participation in merit. So if you offer a regular 401k, if you offer a 403b, if you're a nonprofit, or if you offer a simple or a simple retirement plan or a SEP, those are the most common ones that we see. Then if you've heard from our program from Merit, you just need to certify that you're exempt because you offer a qualified workplace retirement plan. And that exemption process is very simple. So I want to tell you a little bit about what Merit is. You as an employer enroll your employees. From an employee's perspective, it is automatic. They are automatically enrolled, which is currently the standard for every 401k that gets started in this country at this point. Every employer has to automatically enroll their employees, and that is true with Merit as well. Your employees' participation is completely voluntary. So once they are enrolled, they have an account, but they can opt out at any time. They can opt out before you start doing payroll contributions for them or anytime after that process has started. It is set up as a public-private partnership. We have partnered with Vestwell, which does the record keeping. Some of you may be familiar with Vestwell. They also are the record keeper for Maine's 529 plan. And the accounts are held at Bank of New York Mellon, which is a large IRA custodian. And our goal, of course, was to keep it as simple as possible for both employers and employees. So as employers, your basic requirement is to facilitate the program. So we charge no fees to employers to offer this program. We have made the enrollment as fast and easy as we can. And it takes most employers about 15 to 20 minutes to complete the registration process. And I'll be going through that in detail. It's pretty straightforward. And we've done everything we can to work with the payroll processors that you may be using. So we have integrations, and we have more integrations coming on all the time. But if you're a small business using, say, QuickBooks for your payroll, it's a complete integration. There's what I call an easy button. It'll be right in your Merit portal. You'll press that button, you'll enter the password for your QuickBooks, and the information will flow back and forth. That's true of Gusto also, which I know many small business owners use, as well as the payroll providers in Maine have been terrific. So many of them have also started integrations with Merit. Paper Trails has, Bangor Payroll has, Payroll Management, Yarmouth Payroll. So some of the payroll providers in Maine have really embraced this. And the other thing I'll note is that we have made a strong effort to reach out to all of the many bookkeepers and accountants who help all of you small business owners with your payroll to make sure that they're familiar with Merit, since many of them will be helping you with this process as well. So most of them are very familiar with Merit. Your steps as an employer are to register on the portal. That's the meritsaves.com portal. Send the contributions. So if there is no integration, you'll need to initiate the contributions with each payroll and undertake the ongoing maintenance. And what ongoing maintenance means is if you have an employee, you have a new employee, they need to get added to the portal. And if you have someone who terminates, they need to be identified to have their status changed to terminated in the portal. So that's the type of maintenance. And there's could be also the type of maintenance where you have an employee who is participating and chooses to opt out. So that will need to be updated, or someone makes a change and they, instead of contributing 3% of their salary, they contribute 4% of their salary. So that would also need to be updated in the portal by you. We would let you know that, and then you would make the change and make sure your payroll provider knows that those changes have been made. So if the way this works is you register your employees, and then they are, as I mentioned, automatically enrolled, and that they have a Roth IRA account. So this is post-tax funds that are being contributed into a Roth IRA. And if the employee does not take any action after they've been enrolled, 5% of their wages will be withdrawn from their paycheck, and that will increase 1% per year up to a maximum of 10%. And they will be invested in our default investment, which for the first 30 days is a money market fund that we call the Capital Preservation Fund. And after that, it's moved into a target date suite of funds, which is a group of funds which are professionally managed, and your funds are determined based on when your expected retirement date is, with the funds becoming more conservative as you get closer to your retirement date. So they're meant to professionally manage with little effort on behalf of the employee. The employees have the choices. They can opt out of the plan entirely. They can change the percentage of the wages that they contribute. So if they don't think they can handle 5%, they can drop that to 3%. If they are looking at their situation and saying, whoa, I'm way behind on retirement, they can up that to 7, 8, 9, whatever percentage of their wages they like. And we also have a few other investment options for them to choose from. So they can choose to invest in an international fund or a domestic equity fund or a bond fund, or they can mix and match how they would like. I like to put this screen up because it's sometimes not clear that the messaging that you're getting is from Merit. So it will say your from line will be Merit, and it'll be from info@vestwell.com. As I mentioned, Vestwell is our record keeper, and so the emails come from them. That confuses people. I understand that confuses people. We've been working to try to get that to be as clear as possible, but I always point it out, and I always welcome, I get calls all the time from people saying, is this for real? So this is why I want to point it out to you. It is for real. And I'm also happy to get those calls because I think people need to be careful about the email that they're responding to. So if you see something from Vestwell and it mentions Merit, then it is from us. So this is there's a lot on this slide. It just works through how the process of the program, how it will work for you as an employer. So you as an employer, if you are eligible, you should have received by now an email or letter from us with an access code. And you'll use that access code to set up your account on the Merit MainReTirementSaves.com portal. You'll upload your roster of eligible employees into that portal. If you can upload them, that's great. You can upload straight from a spreadsheet, or you can enter the names manually. And then over the next 30 days, we will be sending to your employees information about the program. We will let them know about those automatic, what their default options are, what will happen if they take no action, those defaults that I mentioned, the 5% investment rate and where they will be invested. And during those 30 days, they can make all of the changes. So they can opt out, they can change their percentage, they can change their investment, they can set up beneficiaries. So they can go into their account, again, at meritsaves.com and make those changes, or they can call our customer service line and make the changes that they want to make. After the 30 days, the employer does begin initiating the payroll deductions. So during those 30 days, all of your employees are identified in the portal as pending. And then after the 30 days, they will be active or opted out. You'll be able to see what choice they made. I like to go through this just in some detail so you can see how easy it really is. So if you look at the right side of the screen, this is a 4-step process. On the first page, when you go into your portal, you'll just enter your company information, address, phone number, primary contact, emails, that type of thing. The next screen is where you set up your payroll. And your payroll identifies how often do you do payroll? Do you do it weekly? Do you do it every other week? Maybe you have 2 different pay groups. You pay managers every other week, but you pay other people every week. So you can have multiple pay groups. You'll set that up. You'll tell us what day of the week you pay payroll on, and as I mentioned, the cadence. And you'll identify your payroll provider. There's a long list of payroll providers. And then if your payroll provider is not identified, we strongly recommend that you choose the other and type their name in, because if that helps us know if there's a payroll provider that's providing services to a lot of our customers, then we can reach out and say, you really should have an integration with Merit. It will really help your clients. And it allows us to say, we do have an integration. We let you know that so that you make sure to set up that integration. And then the payment setup, so that's the third screen. We'll be asking you for your bank information. You want to use the same account that you use for your payroll, since these funds are not being paid to your employee through your payroll. They're being paid through, these wages are being paid through sending them to the Merit account. You can choose when you set up the payment to have it just be an ACH pull, which means that when we'll take the money out of your account once you authorize it. You could also choose to send us a paper check, or you can choose to do a push, which would be that you send the funds out to us. You have to take an extra step and send the funds out to us. That's up to you. You can choose any of those options. We have employers doing all 3. And then you get to this last screen where you add your employees. As I've mentioned, there's a file that you can upload. And if you can download the right fields from your payroll software or any other software that you might have, or any spreadsheet that you keep about your employees, and upload it, that is often more accurate than when you manually enter. We definitely have employers who've maybe messed up numbers in the Social Security number, and that does slow down their employees being able to participate in Merit. So if you have something that you can download and then upload, it definitely works the best. You can add from almost any screen in that setup. There's the Add Teammate button. And when you add a teammate, that could be, if you have, I know many of you are small, so you may not have an HR manager, but maybe you want to make sure there's a backup for the person who does payroll to be able to get into the Merit portal, or as frequently done, you can add your accountant or bookkeeper who does payroll, might be outside your company. They can be added also. And I should have noted on that last slide, once you've clicked that finish onboarding button, I'm going to go back, finish onboarding button at the bottom, that's when that 30-day period will start the next day. Your employees will start hearing from us. They'll get 3 letters from us in those 30 days telling them about their options. So I mentioned before, we ask a lot about your payroll and your cadence. That is so that we can automate these emails that we send to you 4 days before each payroll, to make sure to remind you to set up your merit contributions and to be sure that there have been no changes. So this email could identify that there have been some changes, and to make sure to go into your system and update with those changes. So that could be that one of your employees has changed their percentage or opted out. So just to make sure that you're aware of that, we send this email again 4 days before each payroll is due. To manage your contributions, you would go to the contributions tab, and that's where you would make a change in the percentage or update your employee records, and you can mark that complete too. So that would, if you had seen any changes, this would be the tab that you would go to make sure they get done in your portal. I'll say we also have a help center. So if you ever have a question, the meritsaves.com help center has an article about every step in the process. So you can be aware of that. And this is just to give you an idea of what it looks like when you have your employees entered. So you can see you've got their name, you've got their date of birth, and you've got their savings rate. And then you need to enter, when you make the contributions, how much that percentage turned is in actual dollars. So if Mr. Aaron Dixon, who wants to contribute 10%, is making $500 that week or at payroll, that would be $50 that would need to be contributed. So that needs to get done. If your payroll provider has these percentages, they will often have what they call a retirement report, and it will show you the dollars. And again, you might be able to download that report into a CSV file and upload it into the system to identify the savings, the actual amount of dollars that you'll be sending to Merit. So I mentioned we have a very, very robust help center. This is just a portion of it. We put payroll resources right at the top left, so you can see who we have integrations with, how you work the integrations. We also know that a lot of employers use ADP and QuickBooks Desktop and Toast. And we have made special articles about those since they don't have a direct integration. Your important dates, as I mentioned, we started in January 2024. So in 2024, we reached out to about 10,000 Maine employers and they had to register by June 2024. And for that group, enforcement will begin this year. So if you were required to register by June 2024 and have not registered, we have reached out to you many times, and we will begin enforcement. And under our statute, enforcement is handled by the Attorney General's office. So we will start at some point this fall or next spring, referring companies that have not complied to the Attorney General's office. We'll be sending out a notice of penalty sometime this fall or maybe next spring. Our goal is not to enforce. Our goal is, of course, to have employers register. So that's what we keep working on. But we are required to enforce under the statute, and we will start that process. The earliest we could start was July 2025. So we are getting that process ready. There was a second group of employers, about 3,000 that we reached out to in 2025. So those are the employers that became newly required to participate in 2025, meaning that they maybe went from 4 to 5 employees, or they had now been in business 2 years. So they got their first notice in March of 2025. They received their 3 notices between April and June. Actually, in July, most of them also got a special letter from the state treasurer. And they will be required to register by June 30, 2025. They're already late, but we're going to keep reaching out to them, and enforcement for them will begin after 2026. So they were required by June 30, 2025 to register. We will begin enforcement on that group after July 1, 2026. So again, our goal is to really get people registered, not to take the enforcement action. And then there'll be a new group that will reach out. We're assuming it's going to be about, again, 2,500 to 3,000 employers who have become newly eligible in 2026, and they will need to register by June 30, 2026. So we'll start reaching out to them in mid-March. So our enforcement, again, the deadline for each of those groups I've mentioned, it's June 30 each year. We will be sending our final notice, what we call our final notice of penalty application. The statute does authorize a penalty for failure to comply. So those notices of failure to comply will go out sometime this fall. And either this fall or next spring, they will be referred, non-compliant employers will be referred to the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General will start commencing enforcement. So I haven't had any questions yet, no hands up. Questions that we get regularly is, what do I do about my seasonal employees? So we always encourage employers to register all of their employees when they onboard. In some ways, that's just easier administratively. But if you have employees who will be with you for less than 120 days, they do not need to be registered. You can wait the full 120 days for each of your employees. So I know there are employers who hire someone and they're not sure they're going to be around in 2 weeks or a month, that they might, and then you might not want to register them. You might want to see if they stick around. That's fine. After the 120 days have passed, they all need to be registered. And because the goal of the program is to be sure that Maine employees have access to workplace retirement program, we again encourage employers to register their employees early. And we do know that there are employees who are working at more than one job potentially with merit. And so if you have particularly employees who come and they work for you every summer or every winter, those in particular would be great to register, because they're probably working a couple of different jobs and may not have access to workplace retirement plan at their other job. Now, if their other job that they also have merit, then funds go into the same account, so they can keep contributing to the same account from multiple jobs, which is one of the benefits of merit. Part-time and temporary employees do count in the head count of 5. So if you have you have 3 full-time employees and 2 part-time, you do have 5 employees. And you, as the business owner, count as an employee if you receive W-2 wages. So if you don't receive W-2 wages, then you don't count. If you just take an owner's draw or pay yourself some other way, then you don't count toward the 5 employees. If you offer a qualified plan to some but not all employees, that's somewhat common. Employers might offer a plan to their full-time but not their part-time employees. You're still exempt. You can certify that you are exempt in that case. And if you do offer a qualified workplace plan and we have reached out to you, I think I mentioned this earlier, you will receive that access code in the mail or by email. and you go to meritsaves.com, and right at the top of the page, one of your choices, the 3 choices to certify your exemption. You'll click that, you'll enter the code, you'll identify what type of plan you have, and you'll be done. So it's just because what we have done is if we can identify in advance, we do. So people have to file a form if they're operating a 401k or 403b, and we do a check against those forms, and we exempt as many businesses as we can, but those forms lag behind by a year. And so there may well be businesses that we weren't able to exempt by doing a match. So if you got that message, you know you're exempt, but it helps us if you certify, because then we won't be trying to contact you and we won't be trying to enforce against you. And employees can opt back in at any time. Employee might say, just not a good time for me. I have too many expenses right now. And then things might be better in a few months, and they can choose to participate in merit. So this is my contact information. Elizabeth.Bordowitz, mainsaves.org. That employer line, that employer helpline goes to our customer service team, which is run by Vestwell. You can reach out to us at any time. We are always happy to help. And you can get information, a lot of information, at meritsaves.com. That's your portal and the help center. And if you want to know more about the program and the board appointed by the governor that runs the program, you would find that at mainsaves.org. So I've been through a lot. I'm happy to take questions if there are any.
Yeah, as we said earlier, feel free to throw them in the chat and I can read them out. Or if you have one, we utilize the raise hand function. Otherwise, Beth, I really want to thank you for putting on this presentation today. It's really useful information that I hope nobody passes over.
Great. Wow. I don't usually have no questions, so it must mean I've gotten my presentation down to hit the core points.
Mm. David does say thank you and that it was very informative.
Jasper, Frank.
Yeah.
I have actually 2 questions.
Perfect.
One aspect that when I talk to my clients about this is portability. In other words, moving from one employer to another. Can you talk a little about that?
Sure. So the account is identified to the employee. So if an employee moves from one merit employer to another merit employer, the old employer would potentially mark them terminated unless they're working 2 jobs. And then the new employer would enroll them. They would have the same 30 days to make their elections. But once their elections start, they would be going into the same merit account. So they would not have to open a new merit account. The funds would just add to funds already in their account. And if they've made selections about beneficiaries and the like, those would stick with the account.
What happens when an employee comes from a merit environment into a company that has a qualified plan? What happens there?
So of course it's an IRA, so they can keep their IRA. It's hard to roll from a Roth IRA into a qualified plan in most cases. That's just the tax, I'll just say tax rules, and leave it there without more difficulty. So they can certainly maintain it is a Roth IRA, they can maintain it. If they have relationships with other banks or financial institutions, they can certainly also roll their Roth IRA into any other financial institution that houses Roth IRAs. And every bank will offer you a Roth IRA. They're ubiquitous. The special thing about Merit is it's coming out of your paycheck. So instead of you having to say, yeah, I'm going to go down to my bank on Saturday and set up my account, and then the soccer game comes and the dog gets sick and you just never do it, this just gets it done. But it could be moved to any other financial institution.
Okay. one last one. I work a lot of buy-sell kinds of transactions with clients. When you talk about the 2 years in business, when let's say, and it's more appropriate now when you're just starting. Let's say I have a client that buys a business in 2025. Does she have 2 years from the purchase date, or how does that work?
Right, so if it's a new FEIN, it's considered a new business, so most purchases would have a new federal employment identification number. So they would have 2 years. We have found, I mean, certainly in the time we've been operating, we've had businesses that get purchased. And if their employees are already participating in merit and they're maintaining those employees, the employees typically want to continue in merit. And so we would work to get that with that employer to allow their to get started right away. So they don't have to get started right away, but again, keeping employees happy is always good. Employees want to, we can certainly make that happen.
Do you have any numbers yet on participation from businesses that are required to be in the program?
We do. We're over our goals. I'm sorry, I had a board meeting yesterday. I'm just looking to the side to pull up my board materials because we do have right now it's I think over 60% of the required businesses are registered. And that number is probably a little low because we also definitely have people who are registered who are who have no active employees. So because from our perspective, a compliant employer is one who is both registered and making the contributions. But of course, if you have no employees, compliant.
Right.
But just in terms of what we measure. So we are at so currently we have about 29, about just under 3,000 who are registered and sending payroll. And we have and that is 57% of all of the businesses that were in that first cohort. So as I said, close to 60. And it's probably over 60 just because of the way things get measured. And then of the 2025 employers, just over 30% of them have completed what they need to do. So we're getting the word out, but not completely. And so we appreciate the help of people like you, Frank, in helping get that word out.
Well, I think I talk about it with my clients as one of the requirements that they have to meet now. And I think it's one of our goals is to try to give a complete package of requirements that a small business person needs to think about. And this is a kind of an automatic way to provide a retirement for your employees. I think I ran a small business, and one of the more complicated things we did was set up a matching IRA and try to get people into it. And, it was an HR burden on us.
Right. And a cost. I mean, now there's some tax credits, but those go away and it's a real cost, and there's fiduciary obligations. And with merit, no contributions from the employer, no fiduciary obligation on behalf of the employer. But I do frequently refer to it as a gateway retirement plan, because if you build your business and you've got more capacity, which then you can always move on to another retirement plan. And I will say that's one of the things, just as a sidelight, that we know from other states and just anecdotally from our state, other states, there have been studies, but we know that more businesses are starting retirement plans because they have this requirement, and it requires businesses to take a look. Do I want to do merit, or is there something else that might be more appropriate for my business at this time? And either is good with us.
Yeah. And in my experience with my operation was that it was extremely popular and desired by the employees. It's a benefit that really helped with recruiting. So,
Right. Yeah, people are really concerned about their retirement, and everyone hears about the Social Security Trust Fund and potential shortfalls, and I think that makes people even more inclined to want to make sure that they're set for their future.
yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Jasper seems to have disappeared. So.
He's coming.
Sorry, I'm still here. Just had someone come in the office.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Nothing in the chat right now. If anyone does, we can still have plenty of time to take them. Otherwise, I could start my ending spiel here.
Sure, I'll just remind people you can feel free. If you're like me and you get off this and you're like, oh, I should have asked that, you know where to find us, please feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. And I'll be including that in the message. Keep your eyes peeled for a message from me, Jasper from SCORE, with a link to the recording and slides from today's workshop, as well as the contact information, and a link to a survey that we really appreciate you filling out. I do want to thank everyone for attending today. I want to thank Beth for a great presentation. And if you're not familiar with us, again, here at SCORE, we're a free nonprofit business mentoring program, partner of the Small Business Administration, and it's easy and quick to find a mentor. Just head to our website, score.org, where you're likely signed up for this workshop, and just enter your zip code on the front page if you're not already working with a mentor. We have chapters all across the country. So if there's a request that you have that can't necessarily be filled here in Maine, we have mentors throughout the nation that might be able to help you. Just as a quick plug too, we helped start over 560 new businesses in the state of Maine alone last year, and over 11 million since 1964 across the country. And you can scan that QR code as well. I suppose we can wrap things up then. If nobody has any other questions, like I said, you'll have a contact info in the message from me if you do think of any questions after the fact here, and a link to the recording that also includes our YouTube channel that has our entire library of recorded workshops and webinars. And I want to thank Beth one more time for a great presentation.
All right, well, then thank you all for listening and for your questions. I appreciate it.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Bye-bye.